And it's good to be honest about your grief, certainly with yourself, right? That people sometimes blame themselves for their inability to snap out of things, right? And that's kind of what we expect of people. This is you now. This is a part of you, and you can't just pretend that it's not there.
It's best to be honest about it with the people around you. And to say your child's name. It's important to say his name, to say Ethan's name. Hi guys, what you doing? What's going on? I see that. Is it bedtime?
For Penelope it is.
Yeah. Are you sitting in the chair? You gonna read some books?
Yeah.
Yeah. Penelope.
We're gonna start with Penelope loves her big brother.
Penelope, do you love your Guga?
Guga.
Yeah. Ethan, do you love your little sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys both got haircuts today, didn't you?
Mom, what's the little sister?
May May.
Oh, Mimi. Yeah.
Mimi.
I love Mimi.
We were all surprised when Ethan was born that he had several internal organ defects. His esophagus was attached to his trachea, for example, and his aorta was too narrow, and his airways were kind of papery. And so they had a couple emergency surgeries that corrected these, and then a lot of follow-up care. There's a lot of trouble with breathing from time to time and swallowing. And then he did develop hearing loss. So he had high frequency hearing loss. He wore hearing aids. It was quite a uphill struggle at first.
He found joy. He found joy despite all of his health challenges, surgeries, pneumonias. Wearing hearing aids, it was a challenge for a little guy, but he was a joyful person and a loving person, and he lived life to the fullest. It's Christmas Eve. This is our first Christmas with Penelope. We're so excited. And she and Ethan love to bounce on the bed.
Ethan was someone who connected really easily with people. He had kind of an instinct for what they shared. He kind of like made every situation more enjoyable. We weren't planning on going swimming. We'd been swimming the day before and got a really bad sunburn. So we were going to play miniature golf. And friends arrived, wanted to go swimming. The waves were beautiful. It was a magnificent day.
Ethan begged us. He begged on bended knee, please, 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 Mom, let me go swimming. So they went in the water, and I took Penelope up to our cottage to change into our swimsuits. And we had some delays that we couldn't get in the house. There was something wrong with the key. It seemed to take forever.
That was our first week of owning the home in Union Pier. So we spent several days there as a family. My wife and son left on Sunday. I decided I was going to spend an extra day and just walk down to the beach and spend an hour or so and then leave. I noted almost immediately the size of the waves. I took a video of the waves and sent it to my wife, telling her, can't believe both how beautiful but how unique and how high these waves are. As I put my phone down and looked out, I saw two people.
We were swept down the beach, and then we were swept into an inlet, so we're suddenly kind of far from the shore. And of course, we didn't notice that until we were there. And there were people all around us, you could hear them, and they were fine. It was like an area of extreme turbulence.
What I saw on Jeff's face was terror, and Ethan was already limp. And I immediately, at that point, knew they were in trouble.
When Al tells the story of trying to rescue Ethan, he looked out and saw Ethan and Jeff, and he said to a bystander, "Are they in trouble?" And they said, "No, I think they're just playing." But Al thought they were in trouble. He looked around for a flotation device.
It was instantaneous when I, seeing terror, realizing need to get them, looking around, turning around, and looking for something I could take out, and there was nothing. By the time I reached them, I was exhausted, and Jeff handed me Ethan, and he said, can you please try to take him in? I don't remember my response, but I took Ethan. And the waves, 3 separate times, waves went over us, pulled us under, and whipped us around in a tumble. And I began to take water in. And then it happened a second time. And when I came up, I said, "Ethan, if you can hear me, please try to tighten up because I need one arm to swim." And I believed I felt something of a grip, but I don't know. The third wave that took us down, I don't know how many times I tumbled and I lost him. And I was struggling to come back up myself. I figured at that point I was beginning to drown. I was taking water in. I came up to the surface and I looked around. I could see the distance, Jeff, and I just yelled out to him, "I don't have your son. I can't find him." I was a lifeguard. I was a swimmer in high school. I know how to swim. I knew how to kind of try to follow the length and the wave and float. And these waves were so powerful that I was having a very difficult time. And there was, at one moment, I was swept down so deep, I don't know, it might have been 14 feet of water. And I was drifting down, just breathing in water. And I was beginning to realize I'm drowning. And, people can say what they want about, what they, I hear this voice over and over. It is not your time. It's not your time. And whatever it was, what I could see was the blue skies, the light, and I just pushed myself to the surface and tried to swim. Shortly after that, I arrived on the shore, found my phone. I'm on 911, and they're talking. At this point, I'm weeping, and I was looking out at the lake and describing what had happened, and every once in a while, I'd see Ethan come up, floating, and I'd see Jeff disappear and then come up, disappear and then come up. And they said, "There's police on the way, just wait." And at some point when Jeff had come up and was remaining up, I said, "I have to go get him."
All I remember is struggling to stay above the surface and sinking. I don't know how to account for my survival, really.
I looked around, and there was a gentleman running down the steps. It was an officer. He was coming in from behind me. I was already in the water. I had gotten a hold of got a hold of Jeff. I was trying to put him on my shoulders and bring him in, and until I found some footing, which I did. And at that point, Tyler was in the water, and then the two of us brought him in. And Jeff dropped down and started sobbing.
We came back down to the beach and we're talking to some friends, and after a while I thought, I haven't seen Jeff and Ethan for a while. And then I noticed some rescue was going on down the beach. So I asked our friends to watch Penelope, and I said, I'm just going to go look for them, because I wanted to put some sunscreen on Ethan because I was worried about him getting sunburned. And then as I walked down the beach, I asked someone what's going on, and he said a 9-year-old boy is missing. And then at that moment, I knew.
I sat down with him for a bit of time, just consoling him. Then I could hear the screams of Janet.
I ran down the beach, and Jeff had just been pulled out, and he was just wailing there, and that's when I knew.
On the day that Ethan drowned, I was working with my computer, but very close to the Lakeshore Road, which is right next to the beach. I heard a police siren, and the police car drove right by, and I just had sort of a sixth sense somebody drowned. I ran down to the shore. I saw the policeman standing by the shore. I introduced myself, told him that I had lifeguard training and that I'm an open water swimmer. I organized a human chain.
We were running up and down the beach, yelling at people to please come and help us so that we could form, because the waves are so bad, and even out there we're holding on to one another like this tightly, and trying to, maybe about 12 people at that point. It's a little unsure. 3 different people nearly drowned. At one point I got to the shore and I was standing on the sand, looking out, and they started yet another line. I was exhausted, and a gentleman, Alexander Donnell, he came up to me and he asked me, "Where were you?" And I was confused. I said, "What do you mean, where were you when you first saw them?" And I said, "Well, I was right here." He goes, "Well, where were they?" And I said, "Beyond that second sandbar." And he said, "Well, they couldn't have been out that far." I said, "They were out that far. They were beyond that." He goes, "Well, I'm going to go out there." And at that point, several times I was pleading with him, "You can't go out there alone." He goes, "I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go out there and try to find Ethan."
I walked along the shoreline, and as I went, I enlisted the help of every person I encountered. I stationed people about 25 yards apart, instructing them to stay in that spot and look out in the water and just see if they could see the body floating. So I was back out in the water where Ethan had actually drowned, and I heard somebody on the beach say, "There he is." I quickly swam to that place, but saw and felt nothing. Again, I waited, I watched. I was standing in shallow water. It was only about knee high, but the water was totally opaque. Eventually, the form bobbed up again. It was a few inches from my ankles, from my knees. It was Ethan. I snatched him before he could disappear again.
I was with Jeff, standing next to him with my arm around him. They were working on Ethan. There's a paramedic there. Then they quickly put him up on the back of an ATV. Janet and Jeff got on there with him. And off they went. And I went up the stairs. I leaned up against the squad next to Tyler, just tearful and exhausted and traumatized, and horribly, horribly feeling guilt. I've rationalized this over the years. To bring Jeff in, not actually being having Ethan in my arms and not being able to hold on to him long enough to bring him in. That stayed in my mind for years. So this kind of brings it all back a little bit.
You know, Ethan had changed my life, and taking care of Janet and our daughter Penelope would save my life. So you just say what you want me to do, and I'll do it. And she said, "Well, I want to go back to the beach and say some prayers." I was terrified to go back to the beach. I thought, well, I haven't left the beach. I've been there the whole time, drowning with him. It really helped me start to heal a little bit going back that first time. You know, Al helped me understand that I didn't sacrifice him. You know, I was there with him. So I'm eternally grateful to him for his bravery in trying to save him. And it's been hard for him too. It's a devastating thing to witness someone drowning or, to not be able to save them.
Early on, I had to leave for several years as the waves would get higher, or we'd get down there and I would be watching the waves. I was still traumatized. It's changed. I'm a little bit better about it, but it left this lasting, somewhat fear. There was a part of me, and of course, I was, we just bought this. I was like, I never want to come down here again. Too much beauty. And at some point, goodness gracious, I've worked with people as a therapist all my life. At some point I had to realize I had to deal with this and somehow try to overcome the trauma.
And I don't think that we're really over it. It's just we function better. You go around without skin for a while, right? And eventually you grow some more skin. And you do it partly for other people's sake, because they want you to be better, and that's understandable.
Yeah, Jeff often says we're disabled now, and that's not going to change.
The loss is so overwhelming that you never fully get over it.
And you titled your book Fun Master?
Yep.
After Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Say more about that.
That's what his friends called him, because he kind of raised the vibrational level of people around him. Like he'd come into a situation, and if somebody had a great idea for fun, he'd kind of go with that and not try and change it. Just kind of moving within whatever was going on there. And everybody left feeling a little bit better. And so that's what the title of the book refers to, that ability. The one reason why it took so long to write the memoir is that it took me so long to face the ending, but now it's something I can talk about without, falling apart.
Ethan wanted to be a cartoonist. That was his dream. Mm-hmm. He drew constantly. He was an artist. He was driven to draw and to tell stories.
And now, from beautiful Union Pier, the amazing Super Bob. Whoa! Good job, Bob.
Nice job.
Did you get it?
I did.
Deck the halls with balls of holly. Fa-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Don we now our gay apparel.
Fa-la-la-la-la-la-la. Oh, you're not gonna sing. There you go.
Oh, and you're dancing.
Oh, she just wanted that.
Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. La 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 la.